What is up, you guys, and welcome to Mental Health Mondays. This is crooked. I'm gonna fix that because not good at this. It's weird. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays. My name is Rachel, and this is where we discuss all things mental wellness. We talk about tips, tricks, and tools and resources that are both spiritually and physically impactful for your life. So today, we're talking all about panic attacks, and more specifically, we're talking about 5 strategies that you can use in order to navigate a panic attack. So before we get into that, we need to talk about what a panic attack is and what it isn't. So you'll hear in the media or you'll hear around people use the word anxiety attacks and panic attacks interchangeably, but they're actually not the same thing. So an anxiety attack is something that is provoked by a stressor, and it can be a feeling of apprehension. It can come on suddenly. You can feel short of breath. You can feel dizzy. You can feel really hot. I'm feeling really hot right now in this jean jacket, but it usually goes away with the stressor. But a panic attack is an unprovoked feeling of terror, an overwhelming sense that you're going to die, in this impending doom. You can feel lightheaded, you can feel the warmth, your heart can race, you can start to sweat. So panic attacks can feel very frightening. They can come out of nowhere, and then you kind of get into this vicious cycle of when am I going to have one, when am I going to have one next, and you can kind of throw yourself into one based on that kind of thinking. So it's important that we understand the difference so we can learn how to navigate them. So the difficulty with managing panic attacks is often that you don't know that you're even having one. So it's important that we educate ourselves so that we can start to recognize the symptoms and we can plan if we know we've had one before. So this strategy that I'm going to introduce to you today is with the assumption that you've had a panic attack before. So I've looked at all different types of strategies. I've used them myself, and maybe one of these videos I'll tell you my story. But I've kind of developed something called ABCDE technique. And it's just really simple to help you navigate the panic attack. A, acknowledge that you're having a panic attack. There's actually such power in acknowledging that you're having a panic attack, and once you've had one before, you begin to recognize the symptoms, and sometimes you'll even hear people say, I'm having a panic attack. But with that, we need to acknowledge a couple truths with that. One, you're not going to die. When you're having a panic attack, you legitimately feel you're going to die. You feel like you're going to have a heart attack. There's this pressure on your chest. Sometimes you feel like you're floating away, all these kinds of things. So if we acknowledge we have a panic attack, we're acknowledging that one, we're not going to die. 2, we're acknowledging that we're not going to pass out. So that's another fear that comes with panic attacks, is that you'll faint, because you start to feel this dizziness, this heavy breathing, all these kinds of things, but you are not going to pass out. So to acknowledge means acknowledging that you're not going to pass out. And 3, it's acknowledging I'm in control. And sometimes it's even saying that out loud. I am in control. I am in control. Here's the thing, panic always starts with a thought. Your thoughts are real, your feelings are real, but they are not the boss of you. B, breathe. So often when we're having a panic attack, we start to breathe really, really quickly, and we start to hyperventilate, and you can start to clam up, and your muscles seize, all these kind of things, which can be really, really scary. But it's all about the breath. Your breath is your power. So a really awesome technique that I use is called box breathing. And I've gone over this before, but we'll go over it again. It's essentially just drawing a box with your breath. You breathe in, hold it, exhale, hold it. Breathe in, hold it, hold it. And you just continue that until you get your breathing under control. Once you get your breath under control, it's a lot easier to organize your thoughts. C, challenge your thoughts. Just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's true. And there's actually such power in that, because often we'll have a thought come in our head and we'll automatically assume that it's true, and it's not. So we need to challenge these thoughts. If you're having a thought, I'm going to die, challenge that thought. What makes me think I'm going to die? Is this logical or is this illogical? Begin to challenge your thoughts. D, discover your senses. This is a really, really powerful tool that you can use to help navigate panic attacks. This is actually called a grounding strategy, and there are lots of different kinds of grounding strategies, but I found this one to be really effective in reconnecting people to themselves and to their environment and helping them to navigate through panic attacks. So when you're having a panic attack, it can often feel like you're out in this chaos and you have no connection to yourself or your thoughts and your environment. And what these grounding techniques do is it brings those three things back into alignment so that you can be able to logically process things. So when you're having a panic attack, what I want you to do is I want you to find somewhere to sit down. I want you to sit down and I want you to plant both feet on the ground. You can't see that I'm planting my feet, that's fine. And if you can get a table in front of you, that's ideal. You put both hands on the table and it just this simple process will just ground you. It'll remind you that you're safe. It'll remind you that you're connected to your environment, you're connected to yourself, and that in itself is a really powerful thing. But then what I want you to do is I want you to discover your senses. While you're in this position, you begin to name 5 things out loud that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. Again, it just realigns you with yourself, it realigns you with your environment, and it actually distracts your thinking from this catastrophizing thoughts that you've been having. And you can do this a number of times, but again, this is a really, really powerful tool. E is simply for end. Knowing that this panic attack will end. And sometimes when you're in it, you feel like it won't end. And so it's a good reminder to yourself to say, this will stop, this will end, this is only for a time. You might have to repeat this process a couple times at ABCDE, but know that it will end. Also know that your panic and your anxiety does not own you. You know, your thoughts and feelings are real, but they are not the boss of you, and they do not dictate the rest of your life. You can have victory over panic attacks. I can tell you that from personal experience. That's not to say that you'll never struggle with anxiety. That's not to say you'll never struggle with another panic attack, but that's to say that they will not stop your future and that you can live in victory even while navigating panic attacks. So just a quick recap of that tool, that ABCDE. A, acknowledge you're having a panic attack. Breathe, practice breathing exercises. C, challenge your thoughts. D, discover your senses. E, this will end. Well, I hope that this has been impactful for you and useful for your life. If you have any comments, just make sure to leave them down in the comment section. I always love to hear your feedback, or if you have any suggestions of things that you'd like to hear on. I'm so excited for this community, and I'm so grateful that you guys have decided to join me on this. The more education and the more tools that we put out there, the more people can experience freedom, and I know that you can experience freedom. All right, see you next week. Yeah.